So, hey, I think this is going to be a pretty casual thing, but that's the goal of this anyways, is to have kind of a casual Q&A, have your questions answered. There might be some other people who show up later on, but we're here for you. So right off the bat, do you have any questions on your mind that you'd like to have answered?
Well, first, I will say hello and thank you for your time. And then second, I would like as much information as possible, regardless if I ask the question or not. But I suppose the first question I have is the programs that you have as it relates to the educational programs. Do you have in person?
Yeah, so our full stack immersive cohort does have the in-person option. It's important to note that everything Code Platoon does can be done online remotely, but that particular cohort has the in-person option. It's the only one that has the option, but that's also our flagship program. It's our main program. Right now, I think the last couple cohorts, if you were to attend one of the immersive programs, it's roughly about a quarter to three-quarter split. So about a quarter of the students are in person and the rest of the students, and because you're all attending the same cohort, right? With the full stack immersive, you're all attending the same cohort, but some people are there in person and some are online. Most of them are remote because they're scattered all over the country and or world sometimes. So,
Yes.
but yes, you can attend in person for the full stack immersive.
And so, as it relates to that group, that cohort, are they currently meeting? And is it possible to attend one of the sessions just to get a feel and vibe for the classroom environment, instructors, other students?
Yes, it is. So first off, it is possible to visit the classroom. We'll have to connect you with, I live in Colorado, so I'm certainly not going to be the one doing that for you. But Kayla here, she lives in Chicago, and our instructor, our lead instructor, also lives there in Chicago. So he will absolutely be able to, as long as you arrange it with his schedule, he'd be able to help you out there, or Kayla can help organize that. I'm not sure, but I will add too. Yes, you can visit the classroom, but also consider that everything we do is uploaded to YouTube. So you're going to be able to at least see the classes as they are presented online.
Okay.
Obviously, that's not the same as being in the classroom itself, but you can at least see how we're doing and what we're doing on our YouTube channel because we upload all of our classes. Everything that we do is available on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out at any time. Our
Yes.
channel is loaded with stuff.
Excellent. And so I'll share this with you. I would say for the past 10 years or so, I've been involved in the startup ecosystem and helping startup and growth stage companies. And my background is nowhere near coding or anything of that nature. And regardless of the business idea, there's always the tech component, and most of them are tech heavy. And finding somebody who has, and I know some of the language, like you said, I've met people who can do back end coding, and but full stack coding seems to be the thing. And I know some of the languages, JavaScript, C++, and Python. But then again, it's like listening to somebody speak another language often. But I've been exposed to that over the years.
Sure.
And so recently I returned back to Chicago again and I'm going to help build another company. So I thought that, and you can tell me what your opinion is on this. I always have a greater appreciation for people I work with if they understand my job. And
Mm,
I just started to think that there's this aspect of how everything has been evolving and continuously growing, even with the introduction of AI now. It seems like hack has become more complicated. And so I thought maybe a program like this would help me, everything from when we start interviewing and looking for some people to join our team, but also having a greater understanding just in conversations, using their vocabulary, and then understanding the limits of what we want to do from a creative
sure.
side and building. And so I just thought it would be helpful to be exposed to it. And since I'm a veteran, I thought this seems like a great community. I don't know if you're familiar with Bunker Labs when Connor started that. It's one of the first entrepreneurial communities I joined when I moved to Chicago. So
Okay.
all those years ago, that was probably one of the few groups of people and environments I truly felt comfortable. And I suppose there's this greater aspect of just trust within the room.
Sure.
Everybody gets it. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because I don't necessarily want to be a master of it, but I truly want to understand it, even to the extent of being able to help from time to time.
Sure. And I think that's a solid question. We've had a few people come through with kind of the same intent that you're speaking of now. Um, I put it in this context for a lot of people because I think it works as an analogy. Think of Code Platoon as like a language immersion course, right? Think of it, I don't know if you're familiar with DLI in the military, right? You want somebody to be an Arabic linguist, you send them to DLI for 6 months or a year or something, and they do that immersion course. Now, when you go to, and it's kind of a similar thing, you can look up language schools online. If you want to travel to South America, you can go and live with a family down in Argentina for 2 months and learn Spanish. Is that going to make you an absolute expert in all things Spanish? No, but it's going to give you that conversational ability, right, to be able to interact in that environment. And that's a lot of the same thing that Code Platoon does. Are you going to be an expert in full stack engineering by the time you leave Code Platoon? Not necessarily, but you're going to have a very strong foundation for being able to go into the various areas. You mentioned like front end and back end development. Nearly everyone picks a path there, right? So you may be a full stack software engineer, but your expertise is more in back end development, or your expertise is more in front end development. And nearly everyone chooses kind of a direction to go in, but Code Platoon offers that foundation for moving forward. So would it be beneficial for what you're talking about? Absolutely.
Okay.
The question you have to answer, and only you can answer, is whether or not, and I hesitate to say this because it almost might sound like I'm talking you out of it. I promise I'm not. But answer the question of, is it too much? You know what I mean? Like going back to that language analogy, is it too much to need to go to South America for 3 months to learn Spanish just so I can have this job where I have a couple of coworkers who speak Spanish? You know what I mean? Like maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know your particular situation. So that's something that each individual has to answer. But it would most certainly give you a very robust foundation for understanding full stack software engineering.
Okay.
The best thing to do, probably, I think, is to look up our graduation videos. So if you watch our graduation videos, what you're going to see are the students debuting their final projects. And that will give you an idea of what's the end state? What's a graduate of Code Platoon know? What do they know? Because that's what our graduation videos are. It's the graduates explaining, here's our final project. So they'll make a website or an app or something like that, and they'll present it and they'll say, well, here's what I did as a part of it. Here's what I did. And that will give you an idea of what your area, how much expertise you're going to have in that, in order to judge that question. You know what I mean? Of whether or not
Yes.
this is overkill. Is it the right thing? I had a couple of years ago, I had a retiring Army lieutenant colonel. She had a doctorate in human resources, and she wanted to come to us just because she wanted to be able to converse with people in the tech department better. And I said, I got to be honest with you. I said, I think this might be a bit much. I said, I appreciate your effort. Like, I love that you want to learn, but she had no desire to even be involved in tech. She just wanted to be able to talk to software engineers better. And I said, that might be a bit much. Like, maybe she ended up not, but I didn't want to talk her out of it. But at the same time, I'm not going to pretend that this is just a simple introductory course. Like, it's pretty robust. You're talking 10 to 12-hour days for 15 weeks. So you're going to come out with a heavy amount of understanding of software engineering.
Excellent. Thank you for the explanation. I was just looking at what Kayla dropped in the chat because it just answered the question I was gonna had for you, like the YouTube videos, where to find the graduation video. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you,
yeah,
Kayla.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no
She's on
problem.
that.
And we did have some other folks join since we started asking questions. So Amber, Carlos, welcome. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat or speak, just say your question. This is a pretty casual thing. We're just talking about anything and everything to do with Code Platoon. We're here to answer your questions, whatever things you got. So
I'm going to continue, but as it relates to Amber and Carlos, you can just tell me shush, and then you can ask your question if I'm doing too much talking. Uh,
No worries, no worries.
how best to contact you, Kayla, to organize the visit at a later date?
Yeah, I took down your name and that you want to visit the classroom. So, I can talk to Adam, my lead instructor, and we can contact you to make that happen.
Excellent.
What,
You,
just so we know, I'm going out of town for 2 weeks on Christmas Eve. So like how quickly were you trying to make this visit happen? Like what time period were you looking at?
I could do it next week, or I could do it in January. I'm flexible. My
Okay,
schedule is. Yep.
great. I will talk to Adam tomorrow and we can I'll start an email with both of us and we
Okay.
can work with you on it.
Excellent. I'm gonna do the assumption you have my email address.
I remember your name. So I think you may have come to a Coffee and Code Platoon before or to something else, so I'm
I
pretty sure I
attempted
do.
once, and then for some reason I got kicked out. I think it was my
Ooh,
connection on my
okay.
side. So I was there maybe for 60 seconds, and that was it.
Okay.
Well, if
Awesome.
you'd
Yeah, no,
signed
I
up
didn't
for
want to
any,
seem like a stalker or anything, but I'm like, I remember this name, so I know we have you in our database, so I have your email address. Um,
Excellent. And
thanks.
and I suppose the last question I have is, when is the next application? Because you do have an application process, correct? And for the full stack.
So you can start applying. We do rolling admissions. So the first part of that answer is that you can apply to any cohort in the future at any time.
Excellent.
I have people right now and they're active duty. They're in the skill bridge process, but I have people applying out through almost like 2026. So you can apply early as you like. We like it when people apply early because we've got plenty of things that we can give you to start preparing for the program. Beyond that, if you look at our calendar page, and I can find that, or Caleb
Here,
might
I
have
got
it.
it. Keep going.
She's
I've
got it handy.
already got
She's
it.
already got it. She's way ahead of me. If you look at our calendar page, that will give the application deadlines for each individual cohort. So we do have deadlines for each cohort that will be, and there she just dropped that in the chat. Um,
Excellent.
that will be the best resource for you moving forward. The only time, like we drop things off of the calendar once that deadline has passed, but that calendar will have everything that we have scheduled out into the future right now. And for the record, you were asking about the in-person cohorts. Those are always going to fall on about the same dates because they're 15-week programs. So we run 3 per year. There's really only so many ways you can fit 3.5 month cohorts into a year. So they're always going to fall basically on the same dates, and they're always going to align with the fiscal years. So the first week of October is kind of what we base things on simply because of VA funding and things like that. Like we got into the habit of doing that to maximize people's benefits. So October, the first week of October is going to be a cohort, roughly the first week of February, and then roughly the first or second week of June, I think, is when the other one works out too. So they're always going to fall around that same time. The evening and weekend is a little bit different, but those immersive cohorts are always going to be about that time.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to sit back and listen, and in the event there are other great questions and I have more information.
Yeah, you
Awesome.
bet. Amber and Carlos, if you have any questions, and it's
Hi.
okay if you weren't recording ready, that is perfectly okay. You can feel free to type your questions in the chat. Can you share about the scholarship opportunity, eligibility, and process? Yeah, so the bottom line at Code Platoon is that we make the funding question as easy as possible, no matter what. Code Platoon started with the mission of making sure that cost, tuition specifically, was not a factor. It is a true nonprofit. And part of that process is our scholarships. And we make that process incredibly easy. I think Kayla is sharing right now the page on scholarships, but rest assured that anyone who can attend Code Platoon qualifies for a scholarship. Our scholarships typically run between 80 and 100% coverage of the tuition. And even in the case of an 80% coverage scholarship, we work with you, right? That remainder amount that is due, it's not going to be due right up front. It's going to be, we're going to work with you. We're going to make sure that it's viable for you. I've been at Code Platoon now almost exactly 5 years. I've never seen a person not attend because of tuition. I've seen people not attend for lots of reasons. Tuition has never been one of them. Not one person has ever said, I can't attend because I can't afford the tuition. We don't let that happen. We just don't. The scholarship applications themselves are incredibly easy. This is not a university type process. We're not going to make you write a 10,000 word essay and give you $500 for it. This is a simple form that you fill out, and based on that form, we're going to award you a scholarship that fits with you. And that's really it. That link that Kayla sent right there, you can sign, you can fill out one of those forms, and that will let you know about your eligibility. But at the, again, bottom line is that we're going to make that work. There is a scholarship. If you fall into the category of active duty person who is skill bridge and in the process of getting out, you're a veteran, you're a spouse of a military person, or a child of a military person. That's it. That's the only demographics that come to Code Platoon. If you fit into one of those demographics, we have scholarships that fit you. So rest assured, we make it really simple. Does that answer your question?
Oh, I'll just use my voice.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if I would qualify. My spouse is a 100% disabled veteran.
Yeah, so you're a spouse of a veteran. The disabled part wouldn't really factor in. You're a spouse, and so therefore we have military spouse scholarships. We have women in tech scholarships. We have a number of different scholarships that you can see on that page. But yeah, you absolutely there are scholarships that would apply to you.
Okay, so just choose one.
So the way
for?
it's going to work, the way it's going to work is that choose anything that you think applies to you. So when you fill out any of the forms relating to scholarships, choose anything that you think is even close, and we'll go from there. Because the scholarship committee will meet and determine, what's the best scholarship for this person, and it's really simple.
Oh, okay. So I can apply for multiple different categories that I may qualify for. Oh, okay. Thank you.
And believe me, everything, and this goes across the board, everything at Code Platoon, we don't have any gotchas, right? So we don't have anything like, well, you didn't quite fill this out right, so, therefore, sorry. We just don't do that in any capacity, even in the coding itself. Like, we want people to have these skills. We're trying to help people learn these skills. The application process, the scholarship applications, the actual skills, we're trying to help people learn, and we want people to come affordably. So by no means are we looking at it as, oh, they didn't technically do this technical piece right, so therefore they're disqualified. So yeah, check any and every one of the qualifiers, and Tish, our funding guru, will help you out.
Okay, thank you so much.
You bet. Carlos, you had a question?
Yeah. Hey, Greg. Thanks.
How's it going?
So as you know, I'm doing the guided application currently with Zulu. I just had a few questions with regards to maybe having some office hours with an instructor. Is that something that's available for us at this time, or is that kind of a little early? I did notice that Roger logged in early yesterday, and he offered, folks, please feel free to log in if you have any questions. So that's kind of how I was. That's kind of why I was asking.
Are you talking about specific, in person coming to the classroom, or are you talking about?
No, just just like a Zoom meeting where folks can kind of come in during this time to ask any questions that they might have.
Gotcha. So in that case, what I would do is just email Roger directly, or probably message him on Slack if you're connected at all, because he's going to be the one to oversee that. I don't want to speak for his schedule because I don't know what it's like.
Okay.
But we do have people who are willing to help for sure. The question is when and who, right?
Got it.
And since I'm not a engineer myself, I can't really, I'd love to help you, but you don't want my help in understanding Python. I'm gonna be clueless. So the best thing there in that instance is email, or rather
Roger or one of the
everybody.
instructors.
Yeah, you message him. If he can't help you, he can probably point you to someone who can, is my guess.
There are
Okay.
multiple teaching assistants supporting the guided application classes as well. So you could even just message in your guided application classes Slack channel, just like, can somebody meet with me to help me? And one of them might respond as well. I would try that as well.
Okay, that works. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, they were helpful yesterday. They were able to help me set up the GitHub the way that Roger had it set up. So that was actually really helpful. But then in general, I kind of had that question, whether there was like office hours type groups or not. So, but that answers the question.
Yeah. And he may have official time set aside. I just don't want to speak for him on what that is, if that makes sense. So this whole process that we're doing with guided application is relatively new. So there are some things that I don't know specifics to, and that would be one of those areas, right? So this is only the second time. The last time we did it, we called it Quick Pass, and then we changed a couple of things. Now the guided application process was just, this, for those unaware, it's an instructor-led introductory to Python course to help people get through the application process. We want people to succeed in that, so we offered this, but it is a new thing that we're doing, and so I don't know what the official times are that they have set aside. When is Roger available and when is he not? I'm not exactly sure. Because this is his part-time job. This isn't his full-time job. I'm not even sure where Roger works full-time, to be honest, but he is a software engineer. I'm just not sure where he works. Doesn't he have an act like a
Yeah, he
full-time
does.
job?
It's I think it's not JP Morgan Chase. It's one of the other fintech partners we have. I can't recall off the top of my head which one it is.
Like DRW maybe?
Yeah, it's one of the acronym ones that I get confused between.
Which brings up an interesting point for everyone attending. That's a fascinating thing that some people may not be aware of. I didn't know until I came to Code Platoon, is that a lot of people, when they think of tech jobs, they think automatically go to Meta, Google, these big tech giants, Microsoft, right? The financial industry is a massive employer of software engineers, like huge. JP Morgan Chase dumps more money into tech development than Microsoft does every year. I mean, it's just a juggernaut of employment. So there's a ton of our graduates who have gone into places like DRW, JP Morgan Chase. The insurance business, Travelers Insurance, just hired a bunch of our graduates last year. So, some of these industries that people don't necessarily think of at first, there's a lot of opportunity out there that a lot of people don't consider until they get into these worlds.
Absolutely. That's actually good segue into the next question we just got from Amber of, do you help with job placement or networking?
Yes, 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 double yes, triple yes. So yeah, job placement or career services is what we call it at Code Platoon, is a major part of what we do. And it's important to note here that that's the focus of what we do, actually. Unlike a university, our main goal is not for you to graduate, right? We obviously want you to graduate and gain the tools you need to succeed in this career, but our ultimate goal, and the reason Code Platoon was started in the first place, was to launch your career. That's the ultimate goal of Code Platoon. And so therefore, that's how we measure success. At the end of the day, we're not high-fiving each other because more people graduated. We're high-fiving each other when so-and-so got a job at JP Morgan Chase making X amount of dollars. That's where we go, woohoo, awesome. That's great. So as a result of that, we focus a great deal of energy on not just networking. It goes beyond that. We're fostering relationships with some of these companies, like I mentioned before, and constantly doing that. But beyond that, we're also developing at the individual level. We're developing the skills, obviously necessary, but we're also helping with resume prep, interview prep. There's a lot of people that come to us out of the military. And Thomas, it sounds like you've been out for a while. I'm sure that you remember, some people, they serve maybe 6, 8 years. The only thing they've ever known is the military. They have no idea how to do an interview, right? So we do focus some energy on how to conduct an interview, especially in the tech space where that's different. That's a different animal. And we help them navigate that process in addition to fostering these relationships with companies, pointing out job leads, all of that. And it's a forever thing. I should add that too. Career services doesn't go away once you get a job. career services. If you work at JP Morgan Chase for 2 years and then you come hit us up and you're like, hey, it's time for me to move on, I got to go somewhere else, we're going to help you. We're going to help you forever if you're a Code Platoon alumni. So yes, that's a big part of what we do, and we take it very serious. Carlos mentioned insurance and healthcare operations are huge as well. Yeah, definitely. Insurance, like I said, Travelers Insurance, I think was our #1 employer. Wasn't it for 2024, Kayla? I think Travelers was the employer of the year that we just honored recently for hiring. Like they hired a whole bunch of our graduates. A year prior, ExxonMobil hired several of our graduates all in one fell swoop and paid them all a huge salary to move to Houston, Texas. Like I did not. That was kind of an interesting thing for me. So, yeah, there's a lot of different areas that people can go into. And that's something that we're constantly trying to do is foster these relationships and figure out places our graduates can go. Especially when tech is it's a weird place, right? Everybody's heard about, huge layoffs and things like that. So we have to be able to navigate that space because it's still an in-demand skill, but there are bumps and bruises along the way. We're there to help along that path to make sure you have the skills necessary to do well in it.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Amber, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. I was looking for the raise hand feature. I couldn't find it. But I think I'm just a little confused on the process. So I filled out a form online, and then, I did receive the email, but I wasn't sure what the next step was or what the guided application process means.
Sure. So when you say you filled out a form, do you mean the part 1 application?
Yeah, it's part 1 on the website.
Okay. Okay. So at this point, and I'm guessing you selected guided application, right?
Yes.
Okay. Which guided application class did you
The full stack one for the April?
For this? Okay. So spring 2025, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that won't obviously start until then. Here's what I recommend people do, though. We have a lot of resources that you can start on right away on your own. The guided application is basically what it's going to do is going to take the resources that we can give you now, and it's just going to help you navigate that with an instructor. So for example, I can send you an intro to Python course, and I can send you the playlist for the ongoing guided application class that just started a week ago, right? I can send you all of those because we're uploading those to YouTube, and you can start going through that on your own in preparation for that class in April. But beyond that, there's nothing you have to do. This is a skill like a language that is perishable. So I do recommend, starting slowly and just maybe even a little bit every day, right? You're starting to learn just a little bit of Python every day, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes spent on trying to solve a problem. Do something every day with it and keep going forward. But in terms of the application, and in terms of next steps, that's it. You're now in the process of actually learning the skill. This is one of the rare areas in life where you get to actually do the skill that you'll be doing in the job right away. And the reason I say it that way, and the reason that's important is because there are a lot of places in life where you don't find out what the job is until you go through all the training and then you get a job. And then you go, this isn't at all like the training I received, right? This is totally different. Software engineering is one of the rare areas where you can start right away and you can start for free. It doesn't cost you anything other than your time. So the stuff that Kayla just shared, let's see what she shared, the intro to Python playlist. And we also have a self-paced course that you can go through. Here, I'll share that really quick. So we are updating our own intro to coding, but until that point, the one that I just shared is a self-paced intro to Python course that you can start right now. Completely free. It's been vetted by our instructors. It's a great introductory course. that's where you start learning the actual skill and understand with the application process. You were asking about scholarships earlier. These are two independent things. So your application does not hinge on funding, and the funding doesn't, you don't need to do either of them together or in order. You can start slowly working on the application and set the funding question aside, because we can handle that in April or May of next year. We don't need to answer that right away. It'll be there. Those aren't going anywhere. Does that help answer your question, or is there still some confusion?
Yeah, I'll come on video really quick. So I had
Cool.
bought a Python crash
Oh,
course
beautiful.
book.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was trying to teach myself as much as I could. And so I already enrolled in the Python intro course, and I was so excited to have these resources because it was just on YouTube and trying to piece together things and trying to teach myself as much as possible on my own. So I was really happy to get those resources that you offer for free. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any important deadlines. That I'm a very structured person, so I wanted to make sure that I had the process down, so I didn't miss anything that I'm supposed to be working on in the meantime. But I'm definitely going to teach myself and learn as much as I can in preparation, which I was planning on doing anyway.
That's great. Then you're doing exactly what you should be doing. You are 100% on the right track. Like I said, the funding question, the scholarship question, and all of that whole aspect of the application process, we make so easy that you can literally set that aside in your mind right now and don't even worry about it. Worry about what you're doing, which is learning Python. I mean, that's really the best thing that you should be doing at this point, is continuing to learn as much as you can between now and when that class starts, so that you'll be able to hit the ground running and it won't be so overwhelming. Because we have some people who show up to the guided application, they've never done a single thing at all. Okay, that's fine, but that's a little bit overwhelming. Whereas if you have 3 or 4 months to prepare and start learning now, awesome, all the better.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, I really like your Funko Pop collection in the background, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Looks
Yeah,
great.
I love Funko. I collect Funko Pops. I love them. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I feel old because I don't even know what that is.
It's probably better that you don't know, because it is very addicting and it's expensive.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, I only have like a couple, but like, yeah.
Oh,
no problem,
those.
Joe.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. I'd never heard that term before. I had no idea what that was. Cool.
Yeah, the person who introduced me to Funko Pops, I'm like, why did you do this to me?
I don't need another expensive collecting hobby.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions from anyone here? Before we go, I did want to make sure that we talked about during this session. We just recently got approved as, and Greg, you can correct my vocabulary on this since it is still pretty new, but GI Bill certification. Since it's so new, I did want to bring it up as part of this session. So, Greg,
Yes.
take it away.
Yeah. In the ever-changing world of VA funding, we had a breakthrough. For those unaware, until very, very recently, coding schools like ours a student could only use the GI Bill if they attended in person. We've been a VA authorized school for several years, but students could not use the GI Bill remotely at a school like ours, which is why, for the record, the VA created what they had called Vet Tech. Well, Vet Tech sunsetted, it ran out of money. It is going to come back. It's waiting approval in the Senate as we speak. But that might be 6, 8, 9 months before that gets fully instituted. We still don't know. Nobody knows. If you're not inside that Senate committee, nobody has a clue. But we just had a recent great piece of news, which is that the VA now authorized us to be able to use the GI Bill for remote students under the auspices of like Kayla said, a certification program. It will work a little bit differently than how post 9/11 GI Bill works. So if you go to a school right now using post 9/11 GI Bill, VA pays the institution and then gives you a living stipend. for this particular, whatever I don't even know if they're calling it something different. It will work more like the Montgomery GI Bill used to, which means they will pay the student a lump sum, and then the student has to reimburse the school. The problem there is that you don't get the living stipend attached to it. We're still trying to work out the details of how exactly that works because this is very new. But the bottom line is that you will get the GI Bill. You will get some GI Bill funding if you want to attend even remotely. So that puts another option for funding on the table for our students, which is great. It's a great, huge piece of good news that we had, especially since Vet Tech went away a year ago. That was a killer for us. Yeah, because that was most of our students used Vet Tech, and so this is a huge help. And so if anyone is interested in using the GI Bill and they're going to attend remotely, they still have time left on their GI Bill, definitely feel free to ask questions, and I can probably offer a little bit more detail on that, even though, like I said, this is a very new thing, so there are some possible wrinkles to be worked out that we're still kind of working on. And apologies for my Tom Waits-like voice. I have whooping cough of all things, people. Whooping cough. Who gets whooping cough anymore? This guy does. Tell you what, kids bring home
Thank
the
you for being
darkest-
here in spite of your whooping cough.
Kids bring home the wildest viruses. Next, they're gonna bring home like the Black Plague or something. Like I don't even know. I don't like consumption. Is consumption coming back?
Oh gosh.
Any other questions though? Seriously, that's what we're here for. So Thomas, you said you might have another follow-up. Did you have any more?
No, both Amber and Carlos were outstanding with their questions. So everything's been covered. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, keep in mind, everybody, that I'm easily reachable, greg@codeplatoon.org. If you don't have my email already, very simple. All of us at Code Platoon are just our first names at codeplatoon.org. So greg@codeplatoon.org. Please feel free to email me if you haven't already. And I can set up, one-on-one chat. We can exchange emails. I'll answer emails really fast. And then if you want to schedule a call, we can certainly do that too. So, yeah, Kayla, we got anything else?
I think that's it. I'll give you guys back the rest of your afternoon. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate it.